Italia. Italia, as I said, for the win. Take a look here. Giorgia Meloni arriving at the White House earlier today, and everybody's asking the question that I got on the screen. What if Italy just flies solo? Right? What if they just do this thing on their own? Because I'm not so sure they're going to have the rest of the EU with them. And Donald Trump wants one thing and one thing only, and that's a fair deal. A fair deal with Europe. Here he is.
As you know, we've had numerous talks, very, very at the highest level, frankly, with other countries. Yeah, we're doing very well, and we're moving along on trade very well. The United States was ripped off and taken advantage of by every country in the world, practically. I mean, I have to say practically, but just about everyone. That's not going to happen anymore, but we're going to make fair deals.
We're going to make fair deals. You know, it's about time, right? Because we haven't had that many. Now, this thing isn't perfect. Don't get me wrong. And you've heard me criticize it. And, you know, the tariffs and the trade deficits are getting kind of convoluted at times. But his heart's in the right place and he's trying to do the right thing. And he's like, hey, you know, guys, like, if you're charging this much whenever we send something, but we're not charging anything, maybe we need to work out something better. Here's the good news. Giorgia Meloni is all for it. You might have to turn up the volume because the microphones were not right on her. You can see this is a big press gathering, and she's kind of put on the spot here, but she says all the right things.
Prime Minister, you have said that the president's tariffs are wrong. Do you still believe that...
I added the words on the screen.
It could only be her.
Should the European Union still believe that the United States is reliable?
Do you believe that the United States is a reliable trade partner? She says, well, I'm here. I believe in the West's unity.
Have to talk
She
and
believes
find
in the
ourselves.
president. She believes in the president.
He's like, you believe in me?
And find ourselves in the best middle way to grow together. That's why I'm here. So
She wants to grow together.
if I wouldn't think it's a reliable partner, I wouldn't be here.
If I didn't think he's going to be a reliable partner, I wouldn't be here.
Together and as countries, we have a very good relationship.
To follow up, Mr. President, what if there is not a trade deal with the EU by the time...
So what if there was not a trade deal?
Oh, there'll be a trade deal, 100%.
That's interesting.
Well, you think there won't be? Of course there'll be a trade deal, very much. They want to make one very, very much.
He's like, they want to make one. I want to make one. We're going to make a trade deal. I fully expect it. It'll be a fair deal.
Everybody's on my priority.
Wow. Everybody's on my priority list. So I know it was kind of hard to hear because the sound wasn't all there. But basically, bottom line, Giorgia Meloni is like, okay, we'll work with you. We'll work with you. And what is Donald Trump signaling back? I'm here to work with you too. And interestingly, they sent Georgia, right? That was smart. Somebody over in Brussels was actually thinking for a change because she has a certain charm about her that I think probably plays well in the White House these days. And she gets along very well with Elon Musk. She is a conservative, you know, as far as the Europeans go. And so all of this plays into the situation. But what happens if we get to the 11th hour and here she is making a deal with him, but the rest of Europe is not on board? And that's where, you know, one of the things that we heard communicated and we saw, let me show you right here, for example, in the Wall Street Journal, is that she's actually willing to kind of go solo on this. I'm quoting from the Wall Street Journal here where I say Meloni in Washington is likely to signal that as far as Italy is concerned, some of that spending that could happen in the US where Italian companies, including the defense conglomerate Leonardo and shipbuilder Fincantieri, see, io parlo un po' di italiano, already have manufacturing sites. Italy is also open to increasing its gas imports from the US, another issue that Trump has been pressing Europe on. So they're looking at increasing military spending in order to reduce their military dependence on the U.S. That's been going on right there. But she's probably signaling something that's slightly different, right? Because she's trying to represent the defense companies there in Italy and at the shipbuilding. So I think that this is very nuanced and very important. One other thing that the Journal pointed out, and this is totally true, is that he says, you know what, you cut your tariffs, Europe, that's not going to do it all. There's a lot more that goes into this because they got all those VAT taxes. Ooh, that's exciting, right? And then they have the strict food safety regulations. I kind of like that. I got to tell you, I eat really well when I'm in Europe. I don't know what the deal is, but they got really good food. And they've got value-added taxes on goods and services. As I mentioned, the VAT taxes, issues on which the European companies are unlikely to compromise. So they want to keep their VAT taxes. They want to keep their food safety regulations. I mean, I can understand they like their food better than ours. I can't blame them for that one. And, you don't mess with the Italians on the food front, let me tell you. But what's interesting about all of this is that she's coming here and you got Italian companies that are willing to do deals with the US of A, and Donald Trump likes her. I spent some time in Italy at the start of the new year, and I talked to a lot of people on the ground there, and overwhelmingly, I was in the northern part of Italy, which is way less conservative, you guys, right? It's like the north versus the south. The south tends to be very conservative. The north is like more rah-rah progressive stuff and way more liberal. It's the finance center of the world, Milan, etc. So I'm in the outskirts of Milan. I was in Milan as well. And what did I hear over and over and over again from all the workers I talked to all through Italy? By the way, super talented group of people, just enormously educated, enormously talented. And every single one of them kept on saying to me, you know what? I like Trump. And this was just after he had been elected, right before he came into office. And I heard it over and over and over again. And I'm talking about people in all walks of life. And I found that fascinating, really fascinating, because I've spent a lot of time in Italy over the years. I studied there when I was a teenager because for some reason, I was one of those trustworthy kids and my parents were like, yeah, sure, whatever. You're 15, go to Italy for the summer and learn Italian. I had a good time and I was a very, very good kid and never got into trouble, amazingly. I don't think I would let my 15-year-old go to Europe alone for the summer. But anyway, I digress. Point being, I've known the population, I've known the people, I understand the culture, and I've been back there many times since, including as recently as the top of this year. And I was fascinated to see this sort of shift. And I think part of it is because they're so sick of being the underling to, say, Germany. Germany's calling all the shots. You got Brussels calling all the shots. You get the Germans saying this, that, and the other. And you get to Italy, and there's these talented, proud people that now have to take orders from everyone else. Here's the problem, and I've said it all along. I've said this, and mark my words, if this happens, yours truly predicted it, because I do not think you can have a conglomerate, an economic bloc like the European Union when you have so many different cultures, you have so many different histories, you have so many different languages. For goodness sakes, let them have their own currencies. Then they're in charge of their own destiny. This is part of what this movement is all about, making sure that we give the power back to the people and we take it away from the bigwigs. And so in Italy, they used to have their lire, and they could appreciate or depreciate the lire depending on how business was in Italy. But now they got to sit there and wait for, effectively, the Germans to do it all. So she's got Ursula von, what's her name, in the background, trying to dictate all of this. There was a fascinating article I read in the Telegraph this morning, and it was all about how they basically sent Georgia over there, but they're like, okay, do this, don't do that, do this, don't do that. And so they're trying to order her around from Brussels. I think she's too smart for it. I think she's going to outsmart every stinking one of these guys. And the reality is she's going to do what's best for Italy. She really will. Here's the article. Okay, Meloni warned not to undermine the EU in high-stakes meeting with Trump. Okay, so, Ursula's getting in there saying, don't you dare. Well, I think Italy is darn proud to be in the position where they are. Italy is like, you know what? We're actually kind of, we get some clout. We're kind of like the bomb here. And it's all going to sort of be made or broken based on us. So that's pretty cool. I'm happy for Italy. I'm excited for Italy. I'm excited for a conservative movement because they also elected a conservative woman there in Giorgia Meloni. So there's good things to come ahead for this country, and I'm excited for them. I think they will get a deal. I'm confident they're going to get a deal. Trump wants a deal. She wants a deal. I don't know if the deal is going to be with the whole darn EU, but I think Italy is going to be just fine. And she's going to find a way to make Italy just fine. I'll tell you, speaking about Italy, the EU, currencies, trade blocs, etc., make sure, if you haven't already, you hear me, I'm like a broken record, I know, but I just want you guys to do well. And it's a crazy time out there, and there's a lot of volatility, and there's ways to hedge it, and there's things, in our portfolios that we like dividend plays, for example. We have a portfolio that's dedicated to that, the basic income provider portfolio. We have a portfolio that is very heavy into gold and gold miners. Go check that out at 76research.com. 76 portfolios for the portfolios themselves, or you can get the basic research newsletter, code word dollar. It's just $1 a month, because, you know, you better be able to afford that. We really got problems if you can't manage that one, but it goes to $9.95 after 2 months. You can cancel anytime. Hey, you don't even have to be at $1. How about that?